right. Item number 2 then is the appeal from the Zoning Board of Adjustments by MegaBus, 247 Chicago Avenue South, an appeal filed by 903 Washington Partners from the decision of the Zoning Board of Adjustments. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak today on this item? Excellent. All right. We're going to, I believe, postpone this, but I would suggest that we start off with a brief staff report for committee members and then proceed to the public hearing. Mr. Poor, good morning.
Morning, Chairman Schiff, committee members. This is an appeal of a determination of the zoning administrator that the facility at 247 Chicago Avenue is a bus stop serving MegaBus. The appellant, MegaBus, through their attorney, filed an appeal challenging that determination. This item stems back from complaints that we received back in 2012 about activity associated with people waiting for the bus at this location. Orders were issued to come in and file a conditional use permit for a bus turnaround and go through a site plan review. The attorney representing MegaBus filed an appeal. That appeal was originally scheduled to the Board of Adjustment in February, and was continued to April, and then it continued again into this year. It was heard June 6th at the Board of Adjustment. The Board of Adjustment, on a 3-4 vote, overturned the determination of the zoning administrator and found that and upheld the appellant, saying that the lot as constructed and construed does not constitute a bus turnaround, and therefore is not subject to a conditional use permit. During all this time, the city had been working with MegaBus and their representatives in Public Works to find another location. Those discussions were in good faith and went on for some time. Staff has struggled to find the appropriate location that'll work with Public Works' requirements for leases and sharing facilities with parking customers and others. And so the continuance that the appellant has granted under the 120-day law is to continue those discussions. We feel we have made progress. We have several sites that seem to have some opportunity to work out, but we just ran out of time. While that's been going on, the neighbors of the adjacent businesses have supplied a lot of written information into the record. They have photographs, and most of them kind of demonstrate the activity that's associated with this operation. But again, we did get a letter authorizing a continuance for up to 2 cycles, and we think that's the right thing to do at this time. If there's further, I don't have a lot to say on this one, to be honest with you. If you want to take the testimony from the neighbors or the appellant, that's fine. I'm here to answer any questions. That's all I have right now.
All right. Question from Councilmember Goodman.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Pork, can you just outline, as the zoning administrator, where do you think a bus facility belongs? Does it belong in a surface parking lot in front of someone's business or residence, or where does it what's your opinion about where it actually belongs?
Well, bus stops are permitted use virtually ever in the code, but I don't think they were ever intended to be a surface licensed parking lot. This is actually a legal non-conforming surface parking lot that they have just used. Frankly, they're using a drive aisle as a bus stop. The city's position is the bus goes in, it does wait, it picks people up. It's not a well-defined bus stop, if you will, but in point of fact, it does have to turn around and maneuver to get out of the lot, and that was part of our decision. It doesn't function well even as a bus stop. I think the record will show from information submitted, including photographs, that it doesn't work well for the customers. There's no shelter. They have done some minor things about providing what's called restroom facilities, because that's been an issue with public urination and defecation, frankly, around the site from people who are waiting for the bus. But it doesn't function well. It's a surface parking lot. That's what it was built as in its intended use, and it's really being this other use, this bus turnaround, bus stop, is being shoehorned into this. And to that point, that's why we're trying to work with them. We recognize that MegaBus has a right to serve people. It's a public transportation. It is for a fee. But that's why we're trying to find them a more appropriate location that is set up for these types of activities.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Seeing no further questions, we'll proceed to the public hearing. Ask those who are here to speak to introduce themselves and list their name and address for the record.
Michael Race, 4247 Wooddale Avenue South, St. Louis Park. I am the chief manager of the ownership group for 903 Washington Partners. But my role in that neighborhood really goes beyond that. In partnership and in the ownership of 903 Washington Partners, I've either personally or invested with partners approaching $30 million in that neighborhood and have been active in that neighborhood probably for in excess of 10 years. It's my hope to live at 150 Portland Unit 603 here in about 12 months when my youngest daughter graduates from high school. I own two real estate brokerage offices, one in the North Loop and one in Burnsville. And those offices for in excess of 10 years have also served people that are moving to Minneapolis and specifically often into this neighborhood. Turn your attention just a moment to the parking lot to the south of 903 Washington. The issue that we've had with that parking lot really goes beyond just the current issues that we're having. The condition is below any other parking lot that we see in town. It's full of potholes. When they sweep the parking lot, or rather than hiring a professional sweeper, they get people out there with brooms and they sweep the debris onto our property. It just goes on and on. I could stand up here for hours talking about that. And throughout this whole process, we knew immediately when this bus turnaround started because it immediately, and I've got some of our local businesses that will speak to the details here in a moment, but we automatically or almost immediately started to see people that had no resources, no washing facilities, no nothing. They were either preparing to get on a bus for an 8 or 10 hour bus ride or getting off a bus after an 8 or a 10 hour bus ride. And if you've ever done that, as I have to Chicago before, you're ready for a restroom when you get off. And so what we're faced with in our restroom, as well as other restrooms around the neighborhood, is somebody that is just had a long trip or is getting ready to go on a long trip. Some of these people have some personal hygiene issues, and they can't get on the bus unless they resolve those issues. So while I understand that some porta potties have been installed on the site, it doesn't meet the needs of people that are getting ready to go on an 8 or a 10-hour bus ride. You'll see some of the other details here and hear some of the other details about the defecation and the urination and that sort of thing. But really, I think my real issue is the investment that we've made in the neighborhood and the fact that a lot of people that are coming to 903 Washington are from outside of Minneapolis and oftentimes are coming to go to the Mill City Museum and have lunch or dinner. Before or after that, go to the Guthrie and have lunch or dinner before or after that. And we're trying to impress them. We're trying to get them to come back. And in some cases, at least in my case, we'd like to see them move to the neighborhood because I also have a brokerage company that we can assist them with that move. And we don't want them to encounter people in the bathrooms and feel unsafe, and that's really what we're trying to achieve. We also don't want to lock the bathrooms up. We could turn the bathrooms into Fort Knox, but that's not the impression that we're trying to create at this property. We have the two primary businesses that draw the most people to the building are Wasabi and Sanctuary Restaurant. Wasabi's customer is the Guthrie goer, but also a very strong University of Minnesota student person just going out looking for some good sushi. And then Sanctuary is a more of a high-end client. It's an event space in terms of a birthday or an anniversary sort of thing. And it's not the kind of environment where we want to have a lot of lettering on the bathroom doors, warning people that they shouldn't be there, with a locking system that requires a lot of maintenance. It feels more like Bobby and Steve's bathroom at that point than it does a building where we're trying to attract customers and really show them the lifestyle that exists in the Mill District. So with that, I will step down, and Gary Anderson from Level Salon I think will be next, and then we have some others that would like to speak as well.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Gary Anderson. I own Level Salon. For the past 2 years since this bus has started coming into our neighborhood, we've had a constant group of people coming into our salon to sit and take refuge from snow, rain, heat. We've had women, and again, I'm not trying to profile anybody, but we've had women with small children who have no place to go. They get there early to the bus, and because there were at one point no bathroom facilities or a shelter, it's 10 below, and a woman comes in with a baby buggy and 3 children. We only have 4 seats in our salon, and we are kind of a higher-end salon, and there's no place for our clients to come in and sit. I can't ask a woman with 3 children to leave the salon when it's 10 below outside. And so what we do is we try to accommodate them and our clients by putting them back in the dryer areas, the shampoo areas to sit. So about a month ago, and this has happened on a few occasions, we had a woman show up with 2 children from Chicago, had never been to the Twin Cities. She had left because of an abusive relationship and just bought a ticket and hopped on the bus. She shows up on a Friday night, it's 5 o'clock, and she has no money, no resources, and has no idea where to go. A client in the salon who actually has dealt with things like this is at 5 o'clock in our salon calling around trying to figure out where to help this woman go because she has no idea where she's at. We've also had people where we do have a vestibule, and on a cold or rainy day or even in the heat of the summer, not knowing where to go, their ride hasn't showed up or they've arrived early and they're trying to figure out where they can maybe get something to eat or where they should go, they'll just drop their luggage in our vestibule and walk out. So I've actually had to go after them and say, if you're leaving, please take your luggage. We are not responsible for your luggage. We are on the main street. We face Washington Avenue. So, it's an easy fit for them to come down. And, of course, when there were no bathroom facilities, they have 2 porta potties, if you call those bathroom facilities. They were walking through our salon, and as Mike pointed out, sometimes running through our salon because they were trying to find a bathroom. Now, we're doing business, and I understand the needs of these people, but I feel that MegaBus does not understand the needs of their people that are riding their bus. And I felt it's not our service, it's not our issues to provide service for their people. And I get it, and we've let people come through, but it is disruptive to our business and to our clients who see what's going on. And again, the fact that at points in time, our clients do not have a seat. And again, I would never throw a woman out with 2 children or 3 children and say, you know what, I can't take you in. It's 10 below out, but you're going to have to go stand outside. So we have made, and we've offered them water, coffee, to try to make it manageable for them. But again, this is an ongoing issue. Summer's a little easier than winter, obviously, because they can find the shade of a tree outside to sit. But many times in the winter, if you go by there, you see them sitting on their luggage in snow and ice, waiting for the bus. So as a business owner there, I sympathize with what's going on and all that, but I also feel that MegaBus, and I think the man who is reaping the rewards of this parking lot, needs to provide some kind of shelter or service for those people, because we are servicing them, we're not reaping any benefits from them, and it seems like no one's really interested in taking care of these people. So again, as a business owner, like I said, I wouldn't refuse these people, but it is an imposition on my business. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else?
I'm David Boyce, address 7161 Willow Creek Road in Eden Prairie. I am also work at the 903 Washington Avenue building, and I'm the president of Stonebridge Bank there. Our bank opened there about 7.5 years ago. We were the first tenant and put a lot of money into the renovation of that building and have a long-term lease there. So Gary and Mike have already talked about a lot of the problems around the parking lot in the neighborhood and whatnot, and I would totally concur with the disrepair of the property, people milling around and whatnot. It's not uncommon to have 1 to 2 buses stacked out in that parking lot, could be 50 to 100 people out there sitting on their luggage, milling around for our employees, we regularly encounter these people down in the restrooms and in the halls of the building. They'll be sitting in the hallways. They're plugging in and trying to recharge their cell phones and whatnot. Very regularly, they take kind of hand showers or baths, so they rip out a lot of paper and are trying to do their cleaning in the restrooms, actually downstairs, and they leave the place just in a total mess. I get regular reports from my employees that people are defecating and urinating back behind the building. So I have serious concern for my employees of the bank here too. I have, more than half our employees are women, and we have those kind of people out and around the building adjacent because we park on both sides of the building. It's a real concern when we have that kind of stuff milling around. I would really equate the situation to if you were to have an airport and say that you were to have a flight that's late. If you took that whole airport congregation and you threw them out in the middle of a parking lot somewhere with no resources and nowhere to do anything, that's really the situation that we have here. I did talk to a friend that works in the Thresher Square building, which is also, it's about a block away here, and really talking to him about the problem, and they've noticed it over on that side too, even though they may not be represented here today. But he said his son regularly uses MegaBus, and it's a really efficient way for them to get to Milwaukee. But he said one thing you need to know about the bus service is it's really cheap, and it's a great way for students and people without much income to get to a destination. At the same time, their schedule is very irregular and very regularly an hour to 2 hours late on service. What that really does is that just congregates and pulls people into the parking lot, so we get those people standing around for hours at a time.
Thanks for showing me that.
And I don't know, it's a real problem. We put a lot of money. Our bank is really focused around professional service companies and executives, and for us to have all that kind of thing milling around and have no resources, facilities. I think if you went to other bus companies and whatnot, you would find that my understanding is they have to have bus stations and they have to have facilities, actual buildings to operate out of. So it seems like a whole different standard to me. So this is a really big deal for us, and appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. Anybody else to speak? Please come forward.
Hi, I'm Naomi Williamson from Sanctuary Restaurant at 903 Washington Avenue South. I appreciate you hearing us today. Did I need to be closer to the mic? No? Okay. I provided some sort of a pictograph of what we come up against and how insufficient this particular location is for a bus terminal. What I really want to talk about is I've provided two documents, the original appeal document that sort of described the issues that the other people were talking about, and then a supplement one today that addresses a little bit the issue that was brought up on June 6th, which is this a bus turnaround or isn't it? And it seems like the Board of Adjustment got off on just talking about whether a big bus could turn around in a huge parking lot, which a big bus can turn around in a huge parking lot. It's not that. But what there is increasing crowds of people, buses arriving, sometimes two at a time now, disgorging lots of passengers. There's no barrier that keeps people from running into the path of the buses when they're coming or going, or the path of departing or coming cars that park in the lot. So there could be land use safety issues that were not addressed by the Board of Adjustment in their look at this issue very narrowly. I think what needs to happen is that this is looked at more broadly, including the fact that it does have an adverse impact on the neighborhood. We've had increased numbers of panhandlers, but we also have increased numbers of professors and students and tourists, and this just happens to be a completely inadequate spot to drop off people who've been on a bus for 8.5 to 10.5 hours. One of my best friends from law school came to Minneapolis 2 weeks ago to see her dying father. She said, I can come to Minneapolis on MegaBus 10 times for the amount it takes me to pay to fly here, and I'm going to come often because he's in hospice. So she came on MegaBus, and she said it was horrible. She arrived at 6 o'clock in the morning, and she had to go all the way from that spot where the bus let her off to Bobby and Steve's on 35W to find a place to freshen up, change her clothes, and go on with her day. And she says Chicago would never allow that city, the MegaBus to operate that way in their city. And I said, well, what do they do? And she said, well, the MegaBus stop is across from the Union Station. So when the Union Station is open, all of those facilities are available to the travelers. And when that's not open, there's a Dunkin' Donuts shop right there that people go in and buy a donut and have a cup of coffee and wait for the bus. So they have a way to get out of the weather, out of the rain, out of the cold, whatever there is that they can wait. They can sit down. And here we've got tourists coming in from Lithuania, two girls on the 4th of July who came from Rochester at 12:30 in the afternoon. They had a 5:30 reservation. They wanted to see the city of Minneapolis. They didn't get a chance to see the city of Minneapolis because they had to sit on the asphalt and guard their luggage because there was no place was open. It was 4th of July. And they had to sit there with their luggage and guard it. And so their impression of Minneapolis is, I don't think I want to go back there probably. I mean, I don't know what they're going to say in their memoirs, but it's not going to be, gosh, nice place, let's go back. So I think that I'd like to see the council regard this issue from a permit standpoint more broadly. There is issues of safety that are beyond just whether the bus can turn around in the lot. There are issues of security for the local businesses, diminution of value of the property. The Minneapolis has invested a lot of money in making that end of Washington the new theater district. Sanctuary caters to people who go to the Guthrie and want to come and have a nice dinner and then go out for theater. And if they're approached on the sidewalk by people who are asking for money or making them feel uncomfortable, they're less likely to come back. So I'd just like to see a broader examination of the issues and respectfully request that you ask MegaBus to find a different facility or at least create some rudimentary facilities that takes the burden of a terminal off of the local businesses.
Thank you. Is there a representative from MegaBus here today? Mr. Galitz, good morning.
Morning, Chair Schiff, council members. I'm Eric Galitz, 150 South 5th Street. I represent MegaBus. I'm here primarily to ask for a continuance. We were working with staff and with Public Works and planning staff for an alternative location. I don't in any way want to argue with the neighbors. We very much appreciate their concerns. We're doing what we can to address it in the short run with getting the buses there early so that people that can wait on the bus, there are restroom facilities on the bus itself, doing things with signage and with notifications on our website. But we recognize none of those things are going to ultimately solve the problem. I think at least some of you are aware of the history. We've been moved off of the city streets. Voluntarily we've moved. We've been asked to move by the city. We had originally just been working as a bus stop, just pulling up to the curb. The city does not prohibit that, but we voluntarily moved into a parking lot. We've been looking for alternative facilities. We've been denied access to the publicly subsidized bus depot at the Hawthorne ramp. Excuse me. And we are working on the possibilities with Public Works of other locations. So with that in mind, I would request that this be continued. Just to say a little bit briefly about the substance of this, we're asking for a determination on a very narrow technical question. We appreciate the city's frustration in figuring out what to do with us. We're not a bus turnaround. There's a very specific Department of Transportation definition of what a bus turnaround is, and it's an extension of a city street used for turning public buses around. You don't have regulations in your ordinance relating to criteria we could respect if we were put through the conditional use process. I would not want to get into an argument about whether or not the city can regulate this use, but the city doesn't right now. And I think the path we're taking right now, which is cooperation with the city to find a location that will be acceptable to our passengers and our neighbors and the city generally, is really the only path available to either of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will close the public hearing and move a continuance of one cycle. Councilmember Goodman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for doing that. I just have a few comments. The situation is unacceptable, and it's going to change. So I want the neighbors to know that the city agrees with you. We consider this a bus turnaround facility based on all of the evidence that Naomi and others have provided, and we do not think this is an acceptable situation for anyone. I do think Mr. Gallitz, I would describe him as one of the nice guy type people. He's a good person to work with, and I think he is trying and has been trying for a long period of time. I probably disagree with him a little bit about the balance between who's more negatively affected, the bus riders or the property owners and immediate neighbors. I'm not so concerned about finding a place that the MegaBus riders want to get off. If they had their way, it'd probably be in front of Target Center. And I don't think that this use belongs there either. But I do think the city needs to figure out where it does need to go. And it sounds like we're just going to take a little bit more time. This is not a situation where Mr. Gallitz has been confrontational or litigious against the city in any way. So we're trying to work together with him. I think that's generally his approach, and hopefully we'll be able to figure it out sooner rather than later and provide some sort of relief. I want to thank the businesses that are in this area. Your attitude could certainly be put these people out on the street, and a lot of times when people are frustrated, that's what they do, and you have been nothing other than very generous towards the people who are the riders, and it says something about the class act that you guys have been as well. So it's incumbent upon us to try to figure it out. I think Mr. Poor wants to say something too.
Mr. Poor.
Chairman Schiff, I would just suggest that we continue this 2 cycles if possible. We could actually extend 3 under the extension request from Mr. Gallitz, but in talking to our colleagues in Public Works Park and Services, I think that we'd need 2 cycles.
Okay. Councilmember Goodman.
Mr. Chair, I don't want to go out any more than 2 cycles. Public Works is in no hurry. They're not anxious to get this done, and the neighbors every single solitary day have to deal with it. So I can live with 2, but I can't live with 3. I think Public Works needs to figure it out. This has been going on for a long time, and they've been very resistant to cooperating. I would say 1 cycle, but I guess in deference to the zoning administrator, who I will almost always defer to, I can live with 2.
All right, I will withdraw my motion and make a new motion of postponing this 2 cycles. Is there any further discussion on that item? Councilmember Todd Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a very quick question. Mr. Poor, how long has this been a turnaround area for MegaBus, and where are they located? Is this a Minneapolis business, a Chicago business? I'm just curious.
It is not a Minneapolis business. It's a national firm. They've been, I defer to Mr. Gallitz when they actually voluntarily got up the street, but they've been down at this location for over a year. And to be candid with you, they've gone, I believe the neighbors have had to deal with this condition for 2 winters, I believe. And it came to our attention at the end of the previous winter. Last winter was a little milder, so we may not have had some of the same complaints, but the record demonstrates that these problems haven't gone away. They may be slightly lessened, but it isn't gone away. And they have been incredibly patient and diligent. They did tell city staff, licensing staff, about these issues some time ago.
Great. Thank you very much for the information.
Seeing no further discussion, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item carries.